Good day. Welcome to Westchester Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com. Produced by Sharc Creative. Made possible by Robuston Oil, the house that service built. By Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. Also by Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth to a fiduciary standard. By White Plains Hospital and by Tompkins Mahopac Bank, along with Michael Labriola, Landscape Design and Construction of Armonk. Here we are on the beat in Westchester. Here we are back again with John Bailey. John Bailey, publisher, editor, White Plains CitizenNet Reporter, WPCNR.com, online, also host of a couple of TV shows around our area, White Plains Weekend, People to be Heard, both available on Fios and Altice TV, cable systems around Westchester. John Bailey, welcome back to Westchester Talk Radio as we delve now into the second month of 2022. We still have to keep talking COVID, and it seems like at the moment, and we say, quote, at the moment, unquote, the numbers seem to be going down a bit.
Well, yeah, they're definitely going down. However, with the all this talk about going to accept COVID as an endemic and being part of our daily lives, and we just have to learn to accept it, and we need to return to normal. I think this is a dangerous attitude to take.
I know people are frustrated, no doubt about that. And I think it's not a time for us to throw caution to the wind and get back to what we were doing, say, on January 1st of 2020. We may never get back to that. And I understand that, too, could be the point of those who say, let's just try to get back to that. And the heck with COVID, we have to live our lives. Yeah,
well, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything to restrict behavior. Nothing.
Right. All right. Now,
no county, no town, no city, no one in Westchester is doing anything to enforce it, not even fines. They haven't done it for 3 years because they want to be liked.
That's a good way to put it. They want to be liked. We see other counties around the Hudson Valley where they are not enforcing also too, more like, I guess, a philosophical thing about we don't do this. Or
I have to be free, and this is a free country. I got news for you.
Yeah, one county executive further north.
This is not a free country.
I believe it was, that I can't be a Gestapo and stop people here, there, and everywhere until you put a mask
Just write a summons, $50 fine. They'll never do it again. Let them test it in court.
Okay, now we have, for example, coming up Valentine's Day. We have Super Bowl Sunday coming up. We have Easter not too far down the road. These are all
forgot about the Super Bowl, a super spreader. It's the same week.
There you go, the Super Spreader Bowl. These are all high contact situations and scenarios.
Spread too.
Right. So even that's why I said at the moment the numbers are going down. Might we expect those numbers to shoot up again when you take into account all three? Super Bowl first.
Yes. Well, the Super Bowl, the number of Super Bowl parties, and they always include at least 10 or 15 people, if that. And, and they should really kind of mask up. They should make sure everybody's vaccinated, but I don't think they'll do that. And I think that those Super Bowl parties, I had forgotten that little factor of sociability. That's to be added to Valentine's Day, where we have to watch out for that romancing. We have to do it safely.
Happy Valentine's Day. Don't kiss me this year, right?
Yes, just kiss through those masks.
Don't touch
kiss
me.
Something else, right? But I mean, the thing here is that is a big going out weekend for particularly the young people who are very irresponsible as far as masking and social behavior. I'll show you how responsible they actually are. I took a look at the school district infections around Westchester for the year to date from September, and White Plains has a percentage rate of 21.4% positives since September.
That's a lot.
That it is.
That's
Greenberg, 15%. Harrison, 17%. Scarsdale, 16%. In fact, Scarsdale has 5,648 infected, 5,648 in their district, and they have 887% positives. That's through from September, and that returned to full school. Now, New Rochelle, 1,032 positives, 9% rate, but that's a big district, 11,700. Yonkers, by far and away the most irresponsible city in the county, 1,779 positives, 6.1% of their 29,000 teachers, pupils. These are really alarming figures going into basically what is being treated as a back to normal month by politicians, by media. I mean, I'm concerned about it. Mount Vernon, 1,841. Eastchester, 490. Portchester Rye, 623, 12%. Peekskill, only 10%. Cortland, 6.5%.
Those areas are a lot more open up there, up north in the county. So a little
but the northern people, it's not good. But those are only what I picked out as the towns, giving you a cross section of the county,
right,
top to bottom.
Right. The numbers are not good, no matter where you go, really, around Westchester.
No,
are schools enforcing what they need to enforce?
I don't know. White Plains has masks, and they have a good testing policy, and they test frequently. But on the other hand, these parties, you have that week of vacation that the schools are taking off in White Plains. Everybody has separate weeks. But that's when kids get together, or they go someplace to one of those really responsible states outside of New York, and go get it there.
I was walking at the ShopRite of New Rochelle a couple of days ago, and as I walked in, a woman walked out with a wagon filled with a lifetime supply of potato chips, to which I looked at her wagon and I said to myself, she might be hosting one of the biggest Super Bowl parties of all time. She had Lay's, she had Tostitos, she had some other stuff in there too. And I think that's where we might be going wrong here, that we can't have these kinds, whether or not she's hosting a Super Bowl party at home or not. We can't have this right now.
Well, that's my opinion. I mean, but on the other hand, you can't convince people that, look, when you have such positive patter coming out of no less than Noam Bramson Monday, who has 1,000 active cases in New Rochelle and has the nerve to say he's done a good job, or imply it. But I mean, come on. We are not going to go back to normal, and this month will make or break. The vaccines have to keep doing the job.
Are we in a situation where, think about this now, we've had a lot of people who've been infected, and most people who've been infected have recovered, do recover, regardless of how deep or the length of their infection, length of time, or how serious their infection might have been. Might these people be feeling like, I can get out there now, I have antibodies in me, I can go out there, go anywhere, do anything, and then maybe they get infected again and they don't take it as seriously, and that helps lead to larger numbers of people being infected instead of those numbers going all the way down?
Well, sadly enough, we have not heard enough from the county's Director of Health, Eliot Angle. She should be on every week and giving COVID updates and cautions. That's the way you get people to pay attention to it. But she hasn't been. Now, what I think is that people do, what has not been hammered home enough to the general public is, you may be vaccinated, you may have had COVID, you may have no after effects, and so you go out and you're careless. And what happens? You breathe in a little bit of this gunk, the COVID virus. It lingers in your nose and your mouth. You breathe on people, loved ones perhaps, and you spread it. That's what happens. And this is what people who advocate, well, I shouldn't have to wear a mask and I have my right. You do not have a right to infect other people.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of these people don't realize. It's not about you. Or as I like to tell those who don't get a vaccine, it's not really about you. It's about public health, and that has to come first.
Yes, and we did a great job stopping COVID by good masking and socialization behavior. We stopped it without the vaccines. People forget that. Behavior modification stopped the vaccine. In New York, we had the highest cases in the country, got them down to where we were still quite low, and going lower. Even New York City, way down in infections.
Right. And we have New Jersey. Numbers are still pretty high. Connecticut are higher than New York. So the tri-state area is certainly not out of this thing, and maybe not for a while still. As we move from a pandemic to an epidemic that maybe some might consider a pandemic of a different sort, gun violence, John Bailey, gun violence overrunning this tri-state area, and in a lot of ways, certain areas, other areas of this country too. Now we see initiatives from the Westchester YWCA and other groups up and down the Hudson Valley, group in Newburgh getting involved, among others too, up in Orange County, with programs to try to stem this recent spate of gun violence. President Biden comes to New York City to meet with Mayor Eric Adams, a couple of New York City cops. Just the whole city, heartbreaking the way they were eulogized over the last week, getting basically assassinated a couple of weeks ago in an apartment in Harlem. Another cop off duty shot this week, a few days ago, in attempted carjacking in the Rockaways in Queens. What is going on here? Joe Biden's plan to stop guns, hopefully, is this enough, or do we need to do more, AKA reform the bail reforms of a couple of years ago in Albany amongst the state legislators who are gathered now for their annual confab, putting the budget together and writing and adjusting laws?
Well, lots of luck with that.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But I mean, I thought it was most instructive by that huge raid that the various authorities pulled off up in, what was the county? I want to get the county right. But anyway, they confiscated 100 guns, arrested 8 people in very well-to-do houses, I might add, who were making a living off gun running.
Right.
That's what it is. It's
right.
not supplying handguns, yeah. Illegal handguns. And this is the scourge. I mean, rich folks are getting into this because they make money at it. And this is notorious stuff.
Now, we have a group of 9 states that Governor Hochul says she's working with overall, including New York, obviously, getting all of us together in the Northeast to try to cut down the transport of guns from one state to another and coming here through the iron pipeline from the South. How can we actually really effectively shut down the iron pipeline if the laws in Alabama and Tennessee and North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, et cetera, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, you name it, if those laws there are so different than our laws up here in the Northeast?
Well, is there a law? Is there a law in Texas?
They have varieties of laws that are on the books. Yes, they're a bit different than what we have on the books up here.
I mean, they want to return to the 1870s.
They've never gotten out of the 1870s.
No, they haven't. And no. I think that making raids and huge undercover operations against the rather well-heeled and well-connected gun runners who are making a huge amount of money on these guns. I think that has to be done more often. We have to make it less profitable for these entrepreneurs who are making money off guns because they can.
Now, I know legal entities need as much evidence as they can possibly get before they attempt to prosecute somebody for guns and drugs and any crime. But I read of a case recently where And this was up this way in the Northeast, where police department was onto somebody who was running a good amount of guns. And they bought guns from the guy for like over a year before they finally did something about it. Like, if you buy it once, maybe twice, just to be sure from the guy, if you buy guns from the guy over a month period of time, 2 months period of time, like, why do you need 12 months, 14, 15 months? You know, the damage.
Well, because they spend a lot of time, but I agree with you. You have to arrest
you better win your case at that
point right away, take them into court and make it an inconvenient way to make a living.
Right. You may, even if you may not have everything totally you need to win the case, you might scare that guy off or that person off from doing this again.
Right. Prosecutors want convictions because that's how they advance in the system.
Right.
So when they do they like to do these high profile, multiple arrests of 8 gun runners. And this really influences the public to think that we're really going after this. Well, we haven't been. I mean, we don't have enough gun buybacks, number one. We had a successful one in White Plains, and I don't think we've had one since. I might be wrong.
Mount Vernon's done it a few times.
Yeah. Well, they should have a buyback a week down there. But I mean, truly, same with Yonkers. And the problem is the police have to want to do it. The prosecutors have to want to do it. And let's face it, the courts are overrun with cases. They don't like filling up the calendars unnecessarily. If you really enforced petty crime, you would have a problem with it.
You talk about prosecutors needing as much evidence as they can. They pretty much want a slam dunk before they bring charges in a case. Okay, now we see former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Nothing, it seems like, is going to be happening with him being charged with any kind of misdemeanor officially in a courtroom. Case by case that may have been out there against Andrew Cuomo keeps getting pulled back. We keep hearing district attorneys around the state say we don't have enough evidence. They don't exactly exonerate him, but say they have to be able to prove their cases in court, and they don't have enough to be able to do that. All kinds of, I guess it kind of works together. Andrew Cuomo says he's been exonerated totally. You have DAs saying, well, that's not really the case. Why would New York City...
why isn't he exonerated? Nobody brought him to court.
Right. Nobody in the end brought him.
This was a coup that was arranged. They got people to do certain things. They did them. The governor was disgraced. And now none of them is even suing him civilly.
Not yet.
It may happen, but I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. Because if the DA says they don't have the evidence, then this is tough to prove. Well, there is evidence, but Ms. James said what can I say? The governor is now ready for a comeback.
Do you think she did this to kick Andrew Cuomo out of the way, to pave the way for herself to potentially become governor? And it did not work out in the end because she's not in the race anymore.
Well, nobody wanted to contribute to her.
Right.
And she should have realized that this might just happen because I don't want to bring in the racial factor, but you have to consider that.
But there's a gender factor. Part of her agenda raising money was, let's have a woman governor. How about me? And she was told by a number of big money donors, well, we have a woman governor now. So that kind of knocks out that angle about you running for governor. So we're just going to stick with Kathy Hochul now.
Well, that will be interesting to see how it goes down the line. I mean, you still have the possibility that Suozzi might make a very good race.
Maybe. The polls don't show that, and me personally, I don't think so. We'll get into Tom Suozzi and redistricting in just a bit. John Bailey is the publisher, editor, White Plains CitizeNet Reporter, WPCNR.com. Also hosts a couple of TV shows locally, Fios and Altice around Westchester, cable systems. Those shows are White Plains Weekend, People to Be Heard. John Bailey, despite the fact that Andrew Cuomo seems to be off the hook here now, there's still a lot of negative publicity surrounding him. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, like we pointed out, sat down with President Biden, went around in New York City, Manhattan, Queens with him, and President Biden's anti-gun initiatives. Now, Eric Adams, a couple of nights ago, stopped by one of his favorite restaurants in Midtown, and he had a dinner guest. It was Andrew Cuomo. Why would Eric Adams right now sit down and have dinner publicly in such a wide open spot in a private room? But everybody saw Andy Cuomo come in and meet and greet with Eric Adams.
Andrew's rehab has begun. Andrew rehab
the room. That
is now in process. Maybe he will go to a sensitivity clinic.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Well, the mayor says he meets.
That's what happens. If you and me do that.
Mayor Adams says he meets with people, whether they're in office, used to be in office, et cetera. If he thinks they can be helpful for what he wants to and needs to do, he's just something that he does, something pretty simple that he does with people. So that's his angle on this. Andrew Cuomo, yes, we could see him trying to rehabilitate his image. And like we said, he did work the room in the restaurant, an Italian place in Midtown Manhattan. Andrew Cuomo, one of his former communications directors from early on in his regime as governor, about a decade ago, a woman named Allison Gollust is in the middle of another CNN scandal. As it turns out, Chris Cuomo booted recently because he went
Carnal News Network.
Well, he went to bat for his brother in the Andrew Cuomo scandal and the investigations being investigated by Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General. And apparently Chris Cuomo wanted all of his money from CNN when he got the boot, and he saw that was not going to happen. So I guess maybe with the attorneys who are investigating internal investigations going on at CNN and talking to Chris Cuomo about what happened in his case, he uttered up and offered up the name of Jeff Zucker, the head of CNN, seemingly. Did Chris Cuomo throw Jeff Zucker under the bus and mention that, oh, by the way, my boss who doesn't want to give me all my money that my contract, I think, says I'm supposed to get and have. You know, he was having an affair with somebody and didn't tell anybody about it. That somebody being Allison Gollust.
Well, if that is indeed what happened, Chris Cuomo was getting even and with his boss for getting fired. I mean, you have to really realize when you get rid of somebody that you have made an enemy for life and they will come back and get you if they have a possible chance. But on the other hand, I find it hard to believe that this wasn't known widely around CNN.
Yeah, it was supposedly the worst.
And Zucker may come back. He may come back. They may send him away, and we can't do without you. Look, this is too bad because they have brought on a lot of new talent, and now who's going to manage it? Who's going to? But
apparently, there's going to be more right now.
It's not our problem.
No, it's not. It's going to be a trio of people running things, one of whom may eventually wind up being the big boss at CNN. But we see the connection here. It's like just a continuous circle with Jeff Zucker and Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo and now Allison Gollust, who worked for
Andrew a boys club
a decade ago, who was hired by Zucker when he came to CNN from NBC in 2013. It's like just a big hamster wheel going around and round and round.
Hamster wheel.
Who knows what other hamster jumps on the wheel next?
I have a game show.
That's what it is, like a big game show that goes on.
Spin the anchor. Spin the anchor.
Spin the anchor, or maybe spin the network executive.
The anchors come on, and
right.
and somebody picks one to be on their network for a month or something. You know, that could work.
Con Edison seems to want double-digit rate increases with regards to what they charge for gas and electric around Westchester and in New York City, too. And this is something they've like to see done by the end of 2023. What's the reason for this? Inflation, greed, or a combination of both? Con Ed, by the way, claims they need this money to help improve their infrastructure.
No kidding. I was just going to say that. Right.
As they continue to go green, they need more money and more, and for other things that they do.
Wait. They are raising rates because they're getting killed by the Sustainable Westchester Power Coalition, with towns grouping together to pool their electric demand, and they're getting a much cheaper, guaranteed, stable rate. This is killing Con Ed. Con Ed has gone into that business now. They came out with a mailing just this week. I just got it, saying all you have to do is return this and you will get green energy. They're just saying, we're going to give you green energy. They are getting killed by this. And whoever is in those towns, you really need to do it because it stabilizes your rate. No longer do you have double-digit electric bills when you have all electric heat in the summer if you go with the guaranteed rate, which is and really you got to be aware of this. Con Ed kills you in the summer if you don't realize. They kill you. But when you have a stable rate, you do not have. I used to panic when I got electric. No more. Con Edison should be, they'll probably get a little less than that. But what infrastructure do they have anyway, except their power lines?
Which to them is infrastructure, and that's what they're talking about. And I guess maybe updating old lines and different systems of how they do things and deliver gas and electricity too. Their storm response, today as we talk, we have ice around the Hudson Valley in the New York City region. And we see, for example, today, this is a Friday, and we are on our first Friday in the month of February in the county center in White Plains today. No COVID testing and no vaccines being given out because the county wants to be sure that people are safe, and the roads are not as safe today as they usually are because of the ice that's out there. So Con Ed wants to be able to respond better, I guess, in their minds to situations like this.
I thought they'd already arranged to do that. I thought they'd already arranged to do that a couple of years ago. In the first year, Mr.
How about the results?
Was just yelling at them on the phone?
All right. Do you think it's what they did? Do you think it's worked based on what we've seen the last 2-3 years? Their response to storms, the way storms have been handled around this county?
Reasonably, but the weather has not been bad.
No, but they have not had
really bad stuff happen.
Yeah, we've had some big incidents, no doubt.
Yes, and last Saturday, you saw what 6 inches of snow did. It snarled us for 2 days. Snarled us. We cannot remove this snow well. You get 24 inches here. This New York will be out for a week. Queens will be out for a month.
Maybe 3 months.
Yes.
In some places.
I mean, that's what will kill Adams if he has a bad snowstorm and can't handle it. Remember John Lindsay? Oh, my God.
Right.
Talk about being dead in the water after a month of your first term. Right.
I do want to say that Eric Adams did, I think, a really good job from what we know around New York City with his first big snowstorm last week. He had trucks out there on the streets for 24 hours. Some blocks trucks were going up, from what I've heard, 5 or 6 times during the night, which is good. And it seems like the new mayor does want to make a difference. The state legislature in Albany trying to make a difference when it comes to elections, it seems, for Congress, and a number of districts around the lower portion of the state have now been recut up in different ways based upon what the state legislature did. Apparently, Democrats and Republicans could not come to a consensus on how to redistrict. Elections do have consequences. As we know, the Democrats then have the right to cut things up the way they see fit. Couple of examples. Mondaire Jones, who has Nita Lowey's old district, I guess now that district I guess that's the right word, because that district will now include a part of Orange County too, as well, I guess, besides a snippet of Westchester and a lot of Rockland County. Also Nicole Meliotakis on Staten Island and southern Brooklyn. Her district has been reshaped to maybe help a Democrat win that district instead in Congress. Antonio Delgado, mid and upper Hudson Valley representative, headed up towards the Capital District in Albany out of Dutchess County as well. His district has been cut into that of a Republican, Claudia Tierney, to maybe force Tierney out up there, a little west of Albany as well. That area is very Democratic, added to the Delgado district. Lee Zeldin is running for governor on the Republican side and has had the district on eastern Long Island, including the Hamptons, that's been moved a bit farther west, a bit more Democratic territory and turf. And the aforementioned Tom Suozzi from Nassau County, his district now, well, put it to you this way. I remember back in the 90s when Nita Lowey had a district based in Westchester, but cut into the northern portions of the Bronx, Queens, and the North Shore of Nassau County. I just got done on the phone telling somebody about that a few days ago. When I hung up the phone, I go online and I see this story about the redistricting. And right then, I wanted to call that person back and say, oh, by the way, history repeats itself kind of in reverse, because Suozzi's district now was cut up to begin a little further east in Suffolk County, moved back into Nassau County and through Nassau, and then cut a snippet of Queens, cut a snippet of the Bronx into Westchester. And the reasoning behind that, the Democrats in Albany says, is because the areas we've given Tom Suozzi now contain many people who are environmentally concerned, especially about the Long Island Sound waterway. So you can cut it up and divvy it up and explain it up any way you want. But bottom line, it seems like certain Republicans of power have been targeted as the Democrats try to move them out.
Right. Now, what has happened to Jamal Bowman's district?
Nothing that I've heard of.
No.
But I could be wrong.
Well, I got a call last night from a surveyor who was asking me what I thought of a Mike Spano, Jamal Bowman primary race for a congressional seat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there may be nothing to this, but why would you run a survey like that when all Mike Spano has to do is sit tight in Yonkers and run for county executive?
Right, that's what I would think he would do down
right.
the road.
God help us, but I mean, that man can't make a decision.
Would that help Democrats if Mike Spano ran against Jamal Bowman? Would not.
I do not understand why that survey was being done.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be an oddball one, or maybe somebody just testing the field, just testing the waters to see what might be out there possibly too.
Well, they may be trying to measure Bowman's resonance with certain type of voters, like white voters, for example, whether he has a problem with that. I mean, that was such an upset when he won.
Right.
Yes, it was a big upset. And it just goes to show you, never say anything nasty about the voters, because they remember it and you will be out. Mitt Romney could have been president had he not made an unfortunate, flippant remark, which was recorded. And then it went, that's how you lost.
And that's what happened to Eliot Angle, leading the way to Jamal Bowman's victory in 2020.
Yes,
2022,
Eliot Angle. Yes, it is really interesting. I can't remember anything that Eliot Angle is known for except being the first to shake the president's hand at the State of the Union message every year. I can't remember. Can you? I'm just asking. No. I mean, but this is what happens with people once they get to Congress. They sit back, do a lot of talking, and not much.
Race for governor in New York State. You know, the primaries are just a few months away. Can anybody beat Kathy Hochul on the Democratic side? And I know for months now you keep bringing up Tom Suozzi, but the numbers say different. The last Siena poll had him only at 6%. Kathy Hochul at 47%, I think it was.
Well, I mean, that's a tough first go at it for him. However, it depends on what happens if Hochul angers some people about some of her decision making. Mm-hmm. If you get an unmasking sea change of need on the part of the populace, somebody can run a "Let's Free New York" campaign and free New York and all that. There, I should quote. That's how Trump won the presidency. Make America great again. A great promise with absolutely no idea as to how he was going to do that.
So how about on the Republican side now? Andrew Giuliani, name recognition, beats Lee Zeldin, beats former Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino. A couple of minor candidates have gotten into the race on the Republican side right now, too, it seems. I don't know why. I think those three big names are the ones that Republican voters know, and one of those three will emerge.
They think it's Rudolph. They think it's Rudolph. That's their problem.
Well, has anybody on the Republican side taken hold of this race so far? Or do we need to see more of these major candidates?
Well, to my way of thinking right now, if somebody does not start standing up to Hochul on the Democratic side, she is going to win that primary. Now, the danger for the Democrats is if a third party starts up with a candidate that could split the Hochul vote. And
I know what you're thinking.
Republican
party guy be Andrew Cuomo. Could Andrew Cuomo?
It could be. Andrew Cuomo could switch parties and run.
He could create his own party if he wanted to, right?
Yeah, he could. Right.
Right. The Cuomo-crats.
The Cuomo-crats, right? Like the Dixiecrats of years ago.
I don't think Dixiecrats would work up here.
No, but what I'm saying, that was what the Dixiecrats
what they did
named because they voted everything against progressive legislation.
Right, like back in the 1940s. Yep.
But that's what the Republicans are doing now in Congress. They are selling the country down the river.
John Bailey, I leave you with this thought. We touched upon the redistricting in New York State that's going on. Mm-hmm. We touched upon how it seems like the Democrats are trying to nudge out Nicole Maliotakis from mostly Staten Island and part of southern Brooklyn, and maybe get Max Rose back in office like he was. Maliotakis beat him last time around. Max Rose, a middle-of-the-road Democrat who seemingly did not like former Mayor Bill DeBlasio very well. Bill DeBlasio lives in one of the new portions of this redistricted district. Park Slope, Brooklyn will be part of this district now. Therefore, that would give Bill DeBlasio the right and present him with the opportunity to potentially run for Congress. And some say that's what he is thinking now about challenging Max Rose for the Democratic nomination for that seat in the primary, which would maybe and most likely kill the Democrats' hopes of getting that seat back in Congress, because he might beat Max Rose, but he won't beat Nicole Maliotakis. Matter of fact, in that area, Staten Island, southern Brooklyn, when they ran against each other for mayor, she creamed him.
Yeah, well, Staten Island is a very conservative district. And however, they have done a good job with COVID, oddly enough, and best performing county in the New York of 5 boroughs as far as stopping COVID, and so I respect them for that. I mean, they did a good job with that. But I think you're right. I mean, if de Blasio goes into that territory, they do not like him down there. I mean, he forgot that borough. Did
well,
he ever
Bill
go to Staten Island?
DeBlasio said he's not going to run for governor, but he said we have not heard the last of him. Maybe he had wind this would possibly happen. This redistricting might possibly happen. And this is how we will hear from him next. Maybe he runs for Congress. Think about that, John.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't keep retreading these recently defeated Democrats in the big turnover a couple of years ago and try bringing them back. They lost because they were out of touch. They were just sitting on their butts in Washington, not doing anything for their districts. And that's what everybody does.
John Bailey is the host of White Plains Week and People to be Heard on TV around Westchester, the FiOS and Altice systems around Westchester. Right. John Bailey is the publisher and editor of White Plains CitizenNet Reporter, WPCNR.com. John Bailey, we thank you for joining us again here on Westchester Talk Radio on the Beat in Westchester. We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure sitting in the bucket seats and shooting the breeze.
Yeah, like I kind of do with you once in a while, right?
That's right.
On TV. Yeah,
exactly.
There we go. It's like a package deal, you and me together.
Yes, right. It's fun because it's like two sharks in a feeding frenzy. Really enjoy it.
And who knows who or what we might devour next, right?
Well, they really don't like things we say. They really don't, because we know what's happening, right. And I do not need a telephone because nobody calls me anyway.
Here we are, courtesy of Sharc Creative, too, on the Beat in Westchester on Westchester Talk Radio. John Bailey, we thank you. I'm John Marino, and we are produced by Sharc Creative, made possible by Robeson Oil, the house that service built. By Lipolis Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. By Hightower Westchester, managing your wealth through a fiduciary standard. By Michael Labriola, landscape design and construction of our Monk. By White Plains Hospital, and by Tompkins Mahopac Bank. Catch all of our Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, Orange, and Fairfield County Talk Radio programming on our YouTube channel, Sharc Creative YouTube, and to download our app. Go get it. It's there. You can download it, okay, and take it with you anywhere and everywhere you go. We'd love it if you do that. And matter of fact, we know you will. If you don't have it, go get it right now. It's called Westchester Talk.